We all hold on to things that we think that we need and we love. And that's okay, because my mother taught me that it's very important to hold tight to those things as well. But Jay taught me to be like Elsa and taught me to let it go. That's right. He taught me to let go of things and learn to detach because it's healthier than holding on for dear life. And so today we're going to talk about holding on, letting go, attachment, detachment, so we can all be like Elsa. And because this podcast usually is the topics are about what's happening in my life, and I'm still working on this, that's why I thought it'd be a great idea to talk about it today. So lots of people think that attachment is a good thing and it's helpful. Can you explain what attachment is and why it can harm us?
Yeah, great question, because so many people don't understand what this word means. For us and our definition, attachment just means assigning too much importance to something or over-desiring certain outcomes. In life, some people achieve many of their goals, and also some people fail many of them. Guess which one of those people has attachment issues?
The people who fail.
Yeah. The people who succeed at many of their goals usually have very few, if any, issues with attachment.
Okay. So why would failure indicate this? I mean, I just trusted my gut, but why?
Another great question. It's because attachment, which is just placing too much importance on something or over-desiring a certain outcome, can never really serve you. It's not a thing that can help you get to your goals. It's just not. Why would it be? Why would over-desire for something or too much importance on something ever serve you and be beneficial to you? By definition, over-desire and too much importance are excessive. They're too much. It's not going to help you.
I think that some people would say, but like that's what healthy obsession is. And that's what it's good to do, no? Is to be overly invested into your dreams and desires so then they happen.
Well, you tell me. I'm sure you've placed too much importance on things and have over-desired things, certain outcomes. And
Yes.
And have you been crushing your dreams? Have you been knocking them down one by one just amazingly? Has that attachment helped you? You really want to talk about healthy obsession? Your way, your style?
No. Okay.
It's all good. But if I go talk to someone else who's achieved things, they're going to say, yeah, I let it go. Yeah, I didn't make a big deal of it. I knew it wasn't that important and I'll find another way. Thomas Edison, 10,000 failures with the light bulb. His attitude? I found 10,000 ways that didn't work. Anyone else's attitude? I've been trying for years and struggling and grinding and I just wanted this one thing and it's not so much to ask and I really wanted it so bad. You show me the successful person.
Yeah, okay.
That reminds me, interesting timing. Hours before this, I watched a just released video on Einzelganger. It's a philosophy YouTube channel. It was really inspiring and it was called Once You Stop Caring, the Results Come. That was about all of this stuff.
That's interesting timing.
I won't get into it all here. You can watch it for yourself if you want, but it raises the question, what is the relationship between caring, effort, and letting go?
So what is the relationship between all three?
You tell me. You've certainly cared about stuff before.
Sure.
And you've certainly put effort into stuff.
Yes.
And you've certainly let go of stuff.
Yes.
So what's the relationship between all those three? What happens when you care about something and try to achieve it?
I take steps to get to what I want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And does it always work out for you or only sometimes or 1% of the time or what?
It sometimes works out for me. Yeah.
Right. What about putting effort when you go to achieve something? Does it always work out for you? Do you always put in effort? Do you put in some? Do you put in a lot? Do you ever over effort? How does it work? Like, what is your experience?
Okay. So if I decide I want something, I usually research it and I put in effort, find out what other people are doing or what people are talking about it and getting as much information on it as I can. So I put effort. Over effort, I don't think so.
When you want a glass of water, you do a bunch of research and put a ton of effort into it?
No, I just get up and do it.
Right. And when you want to go for a walk, you do a bunch of research and put a ton of effort into it?
No.
So some things you put no effort into and they just happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some things, yes.
Sure. And the things that you put effort into and do all that research, do they eventually become like walking and drinking? Like they take effort and research in the beginning, but eventually you let it go, drop your attitude and your effort about it, and you're just like, I'm good at this now. Like I researched crafting and I put lots of effort into crafting and I got tools for crafting. But now that I've done all that, my attitude's pretty chill about crafting. And if I think of a craft, it just happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, I get what you're saying. The things I'm most successful at, these are things where I let go of the worry or the thoughts about it.
And you let go of the effort.
I let go of that effort.
You just play. You just have fun with it. And whatever happens, happens.
Yes.
You just go tackle the craft. And if you run out of resources or paper, you figure it out and the craft turns out anyways.
Yeah.
If you want a glass of water, you go get a glass of water. If the water is turned off in your building, you head over to Starbucks and figure something out. Like the things you're most successful at are the ones that maybe they took effort in the beginning, but you eventually realized, hey, all this effort is not the way. I need to make this easy for myself. I have to drop the worry and the stress and the focus and the care and the effort and just accept that it's already done.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a relationship between caring about something and efforting about something and letting go and achieving something.
Okay.
Most people don't think about this relationship, but it exists. And wise people, successful people, understand this relationship and they manipulate it well to their advantage. Does this make sense?
Yes.
When you care about something and effort towards something, it's kind of like trying to control a wave. Can you control a wave in the ocean?
No.
Not really. And so it's similar for thought waves. We have thought waves, and people try to control their thought waves.
Mm-hmm.
If I think about this hard or that this hard, or if I do this or do that, or I have a negative thought and I want to stop the negative thought and I'm going to fight the negative thought and I'm going to repress the negative thought, they put a lot of mental effort into trying to control their thought waves.
Yes.
But you can't. It's futile. And a more helpful approach is to let the waves pass, let them crash, let them flow, let them go by. Like, okay, I feel angry right now, or okay, that outcome is not exactly what I wanted to happen. And this letting the waves crash, letting the thought waves go process is what you do when you're crafting. Something goes wrong with crafting, you let it go and just whatever, adapt.
Yeah,
right.
I do.
It's what you do when you're getting a glass of water or going for a walk. Oh, there's construction outside. I can't take my normal route. You let it go and adapt.
Yes.
But someone new to walking might see the construction and throw a tantrum, throw a fit, because they only knew one way to go and one way to walk and one thing to do. And they're not strong enough to even walk all the way around the other way, or their leg muscles are not developed or something. And they'll throw a tantrum right there on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But eventually they'll get to a point of not caring. Eventually they'll get to a point of letting it go. If they're in the early stages where they care so much and they really want it and they're putting in tons of effort and trying their best, that's when they're so obsessed with controlling the outcome or the waves and wanting things to go the way they want it that they lose all their power and lose all their ability to achieve. And they just end up wasting all their energy on a tantrum or some kind of immature emotional expression that helps no one for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But those same people are going to grow and develop and change their approach and change their attitude. And they're going to realize that walking is easy. It's okay if something's in the way. You got this. It's cool. And they'll let it go and they'll have a good attitude and they'll just adapt and easily reach their destination.
Okay. This makes a lot of sense. Every time I've ever let something go, whether it's making money or crafting or you, I just said, okay, whatever. I'm not attached to this. And whatever happens, happens. And almost every time I got what I want. Even if it wasn't the way I thought it was going to work out, it still worked out for me in the end.
Exactly. And that brings me to another aspect of this, of letting go. People cling to things and get attached to things because they're known. They like the comfortable, they like the known. No one likes the unknown. You can check out our episode on fear. Every fear boils down to fear of the unknown. Mm-hmm. But what is creativity? How do you create a new reality? How do you create a new life? How do you create a better situation? Do you create a better situation through known control, or do you create a better situation to relaxed, letting go, being open to the world, open to the flow of life, open to whatever situation comes, and then adapting creatively?
Yeah, the second thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like with the walker. The walker who's learning and cares too much and is over efforting is very attached to controlling the outcome. They're attached to what's known and they're not open to the unknown. And they have a very difficult time creating the reality that they want. They have a very difficult time creatively adapting to the situation and achieving a result. But eventually that person hits a point of letting go. They're like, if I fall, I fall. If there's construction, there's construction. If something goes wrong, it goes wrong. If there's ice on the road, there's ice on the road. I'm cool with it. I'm gonna solve it one way or another. I'll crawl if I have to. Don't give an F. That person is creatively open to life. They're open to the unknown. They've let go of the known and they're like, whatever happens, happens. I will adapt and this is as good as done. I'm still getting the water. I'm still making my walk. I'm going to hit my destination. It's done. I've let go of all the control because I control myself and I control my adaptation. And no matter what happens, I'm going to get there. Thomas Edison did this for his invention.
Right.
And we can get into whether he ripped Tesla off or whatever and all that stuff. It's a total side issue. The point is the man understood letting go, persistence, adaptation, creativity. Mm-hmm. And so you just said it yourself. Whenever you reach this point of letting go, that's when you're able to create the reality you want. And so what's the relationship between creating the results you want, getting out of your comfort zone and embracing the unknown, and letting go?
You have to do all those things. All the things you mentioned, they all go together. Like you have to have them each to do the other. I mean, I can't stay in my comfort zone and create the life I want. I can't create the life I want unless I let go. So they all work together.
Brilliant. Exactly. So that was kind of a big tangent, but I hope it makes it clear that attachment is just assigning too much importance to something or caring too much or efforting too much or over desiring a certain outcome. And it's the opposite of a healthy letting go. It's the opposite of maturely adapting to situations. It's the opposite of progressing towards your dreams.
Right.
Or it could be a step to progressing towards your dreams because we all sort of go through that caring phase.
Yes.
But the sooner you can get to the letting go phase, the faster you're going to achieve. And if you get stuck in the caring too much or efforting phase, you'll just be a temper tantrum waiting to happen.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. So I get a good amount of people, probably like once a week, I get a question on Reddit because we have a subreddit over there. And so we've been active on the law of attraction subreddit. So I get a lot of people that ask me questions over and over about manifesting or whatever. But the thing they have in common, and every time I give them advice or I talk to them, I'm telling them to let go. Like you are too attached to this particular thing. So right now I'm talking to a young boy who is about 18 years old, who his desire is to be a model and he wants to be taller. He wants to have more self-confidence. And then he uses words like, this is my personality. This is who I am. Super, super attached. And I can even feel that energy in the exchanges we have. And so I've said to him before, you have to not let this be your personality. This cannot be your entire life. You have to find a way to be happy in other areas of your life so you can let this go to bring it in. And he says, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And I get it because when I was learning, when I was at the stage he's at, I felt the same. Like, how can I care and let go at the same time? But
you do it all the time.
But now, okay.
For walking, for getting water.
Right.
As a kid, you knew this. When you cared too much, you just ended up as a ball of tantrum and emotional turmoil, unable to progress towards your dreams in any way. It was hopeless during those times. And the longer you were in that, the longer you delayed your progress.
Right.
But when you let go and stop caring so much and just had fun with it, and you fall down and giggle and fall down and giggle and try to walk again. And if someone blocked your way, you just turn around and go somewhere else.
Right.
There was no tantrum in sight and your emotions were calm and you had full energy and full faculties to creatively pursue your goal, and you eventually would get it.
Yeah. So
you have done this for many things. When you were a beginner crafter, maybe you got all cranky or whatever about certain things, but as you got better and kept at it, you hit a point where you stopped caring.
Yeah.
You didn't care if the craft went wrong or the tool wasn't there or the paper ran out. You literally like, whatever, I'll make something awesome somehow.
Yeah.
You had an attitude of, this is done. I got this. I'm on it. I'm creative and I will navigate any curveball that is thrown at me for this crafting.
Yes.
When you have that attitude, you can accomplish anything, and quite quickly.
Okay. So This wasn't on my list, this question, but do you have just one tip to give to those people who are asking right now, or the young man who I'm going to send this video to, that can help to learn to let go enough to do this?
Yeah. Practice doing what you did as a kid. Practice letting go. Practice. You've done it with so many things. That kid could list hundreds of things that he used to put effort into and care so much about. And now he's just like, it's whatever, man. I got this. I don't know, video games, dance, bike riding, walking, sippy cup, like drinking. It started out as some kind of effortful nightmare, but eventually they reached a point like, you know what? I got this. Even if mom's not home to help me or someone's not around, I got this and I'm going to do it. And when they hit that point, everything clicked and they were able to creatively solve anything and everything and reach their goal. You have to do the same things with your bigger, more mature, more adult goals. It's the only way it works. It seems like a paradox, but it's not. If you tie up your energy in over effort and over care and over desire and over attachment, then your goal is over here, but your energy is just pouring into this black hole. Literally could never work. To me, that makes perfect sense. It's not a paradox at all.
No, I agree.
But if your goal is over here and you reclaim all that energy and you have the attitude of, I'm creative, I can adapt to this, I'm going to achieve this, even if it takes a little longer or people aren't helping me or resources are scarce, I am unattached from whatever life serves up, but I am going to achieve this. Now you're empowered. Now you have the energy to achieve your goals. Achieving goals requires energy, and the people who squander it and direct their energy poorly never get their goals. Mm-hmm. And the people who align their energy well and marshal it and put it healthily towards their goals achieve them quite quickly. And every one of us have done this hundreds of times.
Right.
So I would practice that. And I would admit that I've done this hundreds of times and admit that I'm not doing it now with this big, important goal. And I've lost my way and I'm not pursuing things correctly. I'm getting all tantrumy and emotional and clingy and attached and obsessed and whatever. And I'd be like, I got to change that. I'm pouring my energy into a black hole. I'm never going to move an inch towards my goal this way.
Yes.
It makes perfect sense.
I agree. Totally agree. And so one of the things I always tell the kids on Reddit or the people that I talk to, and it's a very beginner tip, very beginner friendly tip, and it won't work long term though. So I want to make that clear, is to put your focus on something else that's fun, that does not freak you out, that does not stress you out, that does not, like if you're worried about money coming in, then, and your hobby is to dance, then go dance as much as possible all day long with your thoughts on the dance, with your thoughts on the happy dance, on the music, on that can't be long term. You taught me that like you can't forever, but until you can calm that, I need it down a little bit, then that's a way to help with those feelings. So I wanted to add that. So thank you.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Thank you. So Ryze Nation, what are you attached to right now that is giving you trouble to move to where you want to be, to move towards the goal that you want? Because we're all attached to something, and it's okay that there's nothing wrong with that. But I'd love to hear what you're feeling, what you're thinking about attachment. Let's put it in the comments or shoot me an email and we'll talk about it. So we're going to move on. I'm an emotional person. As anyone who watches on a regular...
Oh, is that your identity?
No, but I tend to be an emotional person sometimes. And our regular listeners can attest to that from all the crying I do on the podcast. So one of the things I'm not sure about as far as detachment is concerned is my feelings. Does detachment mean that I can no longer have feelings or express my feelings?
Good question. And detachment is another term that people tend to get confused about. So for our definition, to be clear, detachment just means assigning an appropriate amount of importance to something, whereas attachment is assigning too much importance to something.
Right.
Detachment is not where you're detached like a monk who doesn't care about anyone and I hate everything and I'm going to withdraw or be a hermit or something, but just remaining detached enough so that you can assign an appropriate amount of importance to something. Someone attached, they're assigning too much importance to something, like the last example you had.
Okay.
Someone who's detached, much calmer, more zen, more mature, they have a reasonable amount of importance. to something. Like, yes, I want to achieve this goal, but no, I'm not going to get bent out of shape if it doesn't happen immediately.
Okay.
Right? In my examples of the walking and getting the water, this is someone who's detached from the outcome and they're just going to apply the process until it happens.
Right. So I just want to be clear. Detachment doesn't mean detaching ourselves and letting go completely of never, like, forget it, I don't care, and like letting go that way.
Yeah, well, some people do that and they're just running in terror in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
They're just like, fine, then I don't care about anything or anyone. It's like,
right.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Buddhism was saying when they said be detached, like throw a tantrum and go the opposite direction. Right. No, it just means having a reasonable approach to things, assigning a reasonable amount of importance. Okay. Another way to look at it might be detachment is focusing on making loving choices and having a loving journey regardless of outcomes or not caring about outcomes.
Okay.
If you're focused on making loving choices, things are going to work out. Like something good's going to happen. It might not be the exact outcome you want, but you know you did the right thing. You're at peace with yourself. You're zen. You're aligned. Your heart and mind and actions are all aligned. And people see you and they're like, that person's got it together. They really handled that with class. Like, they clearly weren't putting too much importance on the situation, but they clearly weren't being completely apathetic either. They just did what was best and are marching towards their goals, and they're making loving choices regardless of the outcome.
Yeah. Okay.
So detachment, right?
All right, I got you. I got it.
Okay, and so with those definitions, what does that mean about expressing your feelings? Does detachment mean you can never express your feelings?
No.
Right. But what does it mean?
It means to not be overly emotional about the thing we want.
Exactly.
And like obsessively thinking about it and wanting someone to, like, you know, die because you don't get what you want.
Right. Let go is what it means. Let go, be chill, pursue your thing, express your feelings how you feel called to, but there's no need to inject a ton of drama here. There's no need to upset everybody's apple cart. There's no need to throw a giant tantrum. That word keeps coming up because that's what most people do. They have a little emotional tantrum, either internally or externally, when they don't get their way.
Yes.
But if you look at the people who succeed in life, they're the ones who roll with the punches. They're the ones who adapt. They're the ones who know, I'm going to get my goal either way. I'm on this. I'm going to creatively adapt. I've let go of the outcome. And it's cool. If you guys don't want to cooperate with my dream, that's cool. It's all good. You want to do the opposite of what I wanted? That's on you. These people move forward and accomplish what they want. They're detached. They're not attached.
So this is actually something that I've been working on, is being detached, because I tend to, even if I'm not overly emotional on the outside, in here, and it's like repeated thoughts. So I did a job recently for someone who I sent the invoice, and it's been like, I don't know, a week and a half, and they haven't paid me.
Let it go.
Right. But because I'm working on this, while we were talking about it a few times on the podcast, her name popped into my head. Like, and I didn't think like anything particular, but just her name, and just, she still hasn't paid me. And that is annoying to me. Well, one, that she didn't pay me, but two, really what's annoying to me is like that my brain wants to not detach. My brain wants to attach to this and hold on for dear life.
Yeah, I get it. It's not that your brain wants to attach. It's that you have a habit of attachment. All of us have been raised to attach to most things. Mm-hmm. As children, we kind of know detachment is better, and we do that a lot. But it gets trained out of us. And we eventually become just like parents and teachers in society who are all super attached and having emotional tantrums internally or externally about every little thing. And so you're trained to do that. You know addiction. Mm-hmm. Well, how did you break your other addiction? I'm sure your body kept wanting that thing, yes, but you broke that addiction. Yeah. Well, now your brain wants to attach, but...
Yeah. Well, that's actually a really good example, because my brain would continue to think about the feeling and, the vein, and like I would touch a vein and it would be like a recurring thoughts in my head, and my I wanted to keep holding on. But one of the ways that I detached myself was thinking about how much happier I was clean, and how much better I looked, and I looked healthy, and I wasn't gray anymore.
Right. Well, how much happier are you going to be if you let this invoice go? How much younger are you going to feel if you're not worried about this all the time? Yeah. You can apply the same thing, your same trick to beat physical addiction as you can to thought addiction.
Right. Yeah. Well, for me, I feel happier and healthier if I'm focusing on the things I want.
Right.
So like yesterday, I told my son something that when I tell other family members, they will be super emotional and attached to it. And his response was, okay. And I just thought it was so beautiful and such a loving answer. Like, and some people would say, but that's not the answer I want. Or that I was just happy that he didn't care either way. Like, he didn't support by saying, oh, good for you, whatever you choose. But he also didn't give me shit for it or say mean things, or like, he was just like, okay. And then he continued the conversation with other things that he wanted to talk about. And it was no biggie. And this is actually my aim, is to like, and you're the same, like tell you something and you're like, okay. And there's times where I'll wait, like, is there more to that? Is he secretly inside saying something or upset? But you're not. Like, that okay really means okay. That's the level of zen that I want to get to. And I want to be clear, even though my son said that in that moment, later on, there were other emotional things. So even though certain topics he's like that with, it's not everything. Like you, for the most part, it's, you say okay pretty much under whatever topic it is. So, and this is something I look up to and I think is really incredible. And I would love to have this level of detachment where I can just, okay, she didn't pay me, oh well, and move on, and genuinely move on and never think here about her or why she hasn't paid me or the date or, oh, I wanted her to pay me by this date or whatever. Should I say something? Should I mess? Okay, and then continue on my business my way and not think about it. So, yeah. So Rise Nation, how are you feeling about detachment? Are you going to be like Elsa and let it go, but still give it a proper amount of thought? Because you said, right? You said that it's not having an over attachment like being attached is. So how do you feel about detachment? Just let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk about it and hear what you think. So one of the best things that you've ever taught me is detachment, even though I haven't done it with everything quite yet, but I'm getting there. Do you have any tips for us for if we want to detach from people, especially people we may have known since birth?
Yeah, that's a big one for people. I'm glad you brought it up. So we have to realize that most of us have not been taught detachment. We have been taught the opposite. We've been taught attachment. And so detachment is a skill that we all suck at.
Yeah, it's okay.
No hate. It's not our fault if no one taught us. Not teachers, not governments, not society, not counselors, not parents, nobody. They're all attached too. If you go meet one of them right now, guarantee you'll find some attachment issues.
Yes.
Unless it's one of the rare 1%.
Most people take pride in being attached to people and things.
Yeah. Or they're addicted to it and their brains can't stop being attached, like you said in your example. So that means most of us are toddler level at detachment. We are not skilled at this. Actually, in my earlier examples, toddlers might actually be better at this than us.
Right. Yeah.
Now, the question of how can I detach from people that are my support system or that I have a super long history with is an advanced question for someone who's a pro at detachment. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. My heart just sank when you said that, though. Won't lie.
Well, all good. It just means you need more practice and you'll get there. Mm-hmm. But it might be trickier than you think. And it's sort of out of order. Like, it's not really the right question to ask. I understand why you might want that goal and be very focused on it. But if you haven't practiced detachment on the little things, how well equipped are you to detach from something like this? A lifelong family member, or lifelong friend, or your entire peer group, or all your addiction buddies, or whatever it is. This is a bit of an ask. I'm not saying it's not doable, but I'm saying it's kind of like asking, how can I cook a 7-course meal with no stove and no barbecue and no microwave?
Wow. So I'm asking for basically the impossible.
No, it might be possible. Maybe you use a tandoor. or something, or a magnifying glass or a campfire. But I'm saying it's a bit of a big ask for someone who doesn't really know their way around the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And that person probably would be better served by getting familiar with the kitchen first, or learning what fire does or something. Because once they learn that, it's going to be much easier to, okay, now you can cook the feast. You've done the groundwork. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
if you're having trouble letting go of some unpaid invoice, or some comment somebody said, or a boundary that got crossed, or a conversation that didn't go the way you wanted it to, if you can't let go of these little fluff things, it might be tricky for you to let go of social connections and family relationships that you've been clinging to for decades. But like I said, it's not impossible, and everyone has topics that are easier and harder for them. So it might be the easiest one for you. It's possible. Right. I don't want to conclude that just because you struggle with invoices or people's comments or whatever, that letting go of a certain social connection won't be easier. It might be. It might actually be easier.
Okay.
But for most people, it's not. Some people are natural at cooking with a campfire, and it will be easier for them. So I'm not going to say they can't cook a feast without a stove, but for most people, it's probably going to be tricky. And it gets even trickier because letting go of the invoice doesn't cause any backlash. You let it go, the person doesn't pay, you move on with your life, everybody's happy. There's zero backlash for that.
Yeah.
But letting go of someone who's made you depend on them, or someone who's forged really strong bonds with you, or someone who is just emotional, dramatic, and attached themselves, will generate backlash when you let go. So this is why it's even trickier, because letting go of something is challenging enough for people who are unfamiliar with it, but letting go of something where you get punished and drama and backlash when you do it, it's like, ugh, why even bother? No one wants to detach from this. You see what I'm saying? But it's also the most rewarding. Like, someone who can detach from social connections and abusive people, or people who don't suit them or aren't helping further their goals or helping them reach their dreams, unsupportive people, dramatic people, and so on. If you can let go of that, it's hugely rewarding. Like, it's a massive win. But just know that a lot of people love being offended. A lot of people love taking things personally. They have boring lives. They haven't tapped into their personal power, and they get a little charge of dopamine every time they get self-righteous.
Yeah.
Every time they can point fingers and make you feel guilty and bring others down, they get to lift themselves up a little bit. They love it.
Yeah,
they're like addicted to it. Most people.
Yes.
I don't encourage you to hang around people like this, but they exist all over the planet, and it wouldn't surprise me if you bump into some of them,
right,
or were born into some of them. And so if you really want to detach from those people and avoid the backlash and tiptoe around their personally offended landmines that they've laid everywhere, okay, it's a tall order and I'll help however I can, but it is hugely rewarding. And the best way to do it is to align your decisions and life choices with their goals. This is a bit of an advanced technique, but it is the best way to detach from someone, because when you align your detachment with their dreams and hopes and goals and desires, they'll support it, because they'll see that it's supporting themselves. Like, oh, this gets me my dream. This gets me my goal. This gets me what I wanted. This gets me closer to what I wanted. I encourage you to detach. Fantastic decision, and they'll be on board. But like I said, it's a bit of a pro move, and it takes some creativity, and you have to sort of have a little practice with diplomatically and tactfully disengaging from others, or creating distance with others.
Okay. I'm going to need an example, please. So let me set it up for you, then maybe you can answer and help me. Okay. So my mother, I love her so much. But if you've been following the last few episodes, I mentioned her a few times because, like I said, this podcast reflects my real life. So I'm having attachment issues with my mother. She wants me to move back to Florida. She wants me to break up with you and get a job, like a regular 9 to 5. I would rather die than do any of those things, right? So how does my detachment align with this goal of hers?
So your choice to detach somewhat might not align with that specific single particular goal, but every human being has more than one goal. So the trick is to creatively align your choice with whatever goal fits best. So Would you say it's a goal for your mom to have a happy, healthy, successful daughter? I've never met a mom that doesn't.
She would say yes. She would say yes.
Any mom would.
Yeah.
And it's not a lie. You say, oh, she says that. But she doesn't just say that. She feels that with every cell in her being. That's what she wants.
But she thinks being in her home.
No, I know. I understand. She thinks the best path to that is you going back to Florida and dumping me and whatever.
Yes.
All good. All good. Just follow the example.
Okay.
So you wanted this advanced trick, and now I'm going to walk you through it.
Okay.
But you have to stick with the thing and not go off on a tangent and but. Okay. Just
all right.
I see the clear
you
path.
Asked me a question. The answer is yes.
Right. So your mom wants a happy, healthy, fit, successful daughter.
Yes.
Okay. She wants a daughter who can stand on her own 2 feet.
Yes.
Right. These are goals. These are goals any mom would want.
Yes.
So if you can align your choice to stay here with those goals, you see how she'll encourage the detachment. Technically, it's possible. So then the creative challenge or the trick for you now is to somehow make those two connected. Align your decision with that goal. A lot of people would say impossible. But I say, this is what you have to do. This is it. So for me, I would start by showing pictures of me in all of the other locations I've ever lived, or a few of the worst ones. This is me in New York. This is me in Florida. I was an anorexic here. I was a beluga whale here. I was a drug addict here, whatever. And then I would show a picture of me in Toronto. I look younger. My wrinkles are gone. My eye bags are gone. I have better makeup. I look more beautiful. I look more radiant. Your daughter is thriving, at least in one aspect, the looks and appearance and beauty aspect. I'm getting better. I'm getting healthier. I'm getting fitter.
Yes.
And so that's already one step to aligning. If I detach a little bit and stand on my own in Toronto and do things over here, your daughter is going to be happier, healthier, more fit.
Yeah. Okay.
Next, I would align it with your choice of partner. So I would look at your mom's or your past friends' relationships with men and partner choice. And I would show to them that they have made many poor choices in partners before. I would also show that I had made many poor choices in partners before.
Yes.
Right? I had a drug addict last time. I had a cheater the time before that. I had some overworker, workaholic guy after that, whatever your situation is. And then I would point out my current partner is not an addict. He has none of these vices. He doesn't cheat. He's loyal to me. When I wanted him gone, he left the same day. When I wanted him back, he was open to coming back. This is an honest, high integrity man. This is better than all of the men you've ever chosen.
100%.
He might not be buying me mansions right now, but he has the integrity to do that. His podcast is blowing up. I'm happier and healthier, and I have a better man than any of you guys have ever chosen. But you have to own it. You have to believe it. And if you point it out, it's what did you want from me, Mom? Do you want me to have a happy, healthy life? You want your daughter to be happy and healthy and thriving? Do you want her to have a high integrity partner who cares for her and believes in her and supports her and does all these different things? And the mom's going to be like, yeah, I do want those things. That's a big, important goal of mine. And it's well, this is the closest I've ever gotten. You want me to undo all that, throw it away, go back to old neighborhoods and old vibes and start living in old ways and just become a jobber again? I've learned marketing. I've learned sales. I've learned branding. I've learned web design. I've learned blogging. I've learned videoing and editing and podcast and audio. And I've learned a million skills. You want me to go back to learning one skill a year, how to supply teach?
No, this is wonderful, actually.
My Instagram looks better. I'm blossoming. I'm thriving. I'm parenting better. And this can be another thing. Do you want me to be an awesome mom and take care of my kids? Do you think I'm going to do it by just living with 7 cats? That's it? That's the magic elixir? Or should I learn from this man? And should I learn how to stand on my own? And should I learn to be an entrepreneur? And should I learn to generate capital, learn to generate funds, learn to serve the world, learn to provide value, and then teach them how to do it too? I learned discipline and I learned integrity and I learned how to behave and I learned emotional detachment and to stop being dramatic. I'm learning a lot of really important things here that are going to make me the world's best mom. Do you really want me to throw all that away? And so
if my kids said this stuff to me, I'd be like, stay where you are, do what you want.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes. But because they're aligning their detachment and their distance and their being away from you with your goals, with your dreams. And this is the advanced way that you can detach from people, tiptoe around their like, I'm going to get offended and take it all personal, and ideally get them on board and supporting your detachment by aligning it with their dreams.
Okay, so I want to be clear that I understand, right? So an older version of me would say instead to my mother, you and my ex-husband are the reason why. I'm not saying that, just to be clear. This is what I would have said. You and my ex-husband are the reason why I don't want to go home, because you drive me crazy. You're freaking dramatic and I'm sick of your shit, both of you. Okay,
that doesn't align with their dreams at all.
Right. And so then, of course, there's pushback and drama because of those statements I just made.
Yeah, it's a terrible way to detach, but I guess it would work.
It would work, but it wouldn't be a nice, healthy way.
Yeah, there's elegant detachment and there's dramatic and drastic detachment. Yeah. I've done both, and they both have their time and place.
Yeah, I've had to. But okay, so I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So then if I'm positive and I use honesty and I use examples and I show them what I'm doing versus telling them what I'm doing or blaming them, then this is going to be more accepting for them of my detaching from them.
Yeah, I mean, make a PowerPoint if you have to. I don't know what you got to do, but put in the work. The reason most people don't detach very elegantly is because it takes a ton of effort. You have to really think your thoughts through and journal them out and get your points clear. Like I sort of just got them roughly roughed out here. But even that was quite a bit of talking it out and thinking it through. And then I have to assemble evidence and like photo proof and whatever you need to make your case. But getting buy-in from dramatic people who are used to you behaving a certain way might take a little more effort. Don't you think? That's kind of a major ask. And it's like getting buy-in for venture capital or an investor for a business. Like you might need to put together a business plan or a presentation or make your case or have a dramatic demo or something. And same for disengaging from attached family members. They're not going to be ready for it and open for it. And it's a big ask and you might have to put in a little effort.
So,
and I don't mean effort like I meant before with the too much effort and caring too much.
Yes. I understand what you mean.
I mean, apply yourself in a healthy way, in a Zen, mature, detached way where you're like, I'm going to convince them it's going to happen and I'll keep adopting if I have to. And it's fine if they reject it at first or whatever.
Yeah, no, this is wonderful. Like having a backup for what I'm saying. Like just saying, oh, well, I'm happy you're here in Toronto. I mean, yes, it's true, but it doesn't really express the proper thing. If I said, well, when I lived in Ireland, I was super depressed and I was on the verge of using drugs again. And I left my house one day looking for drugs.
And here I quit weed.
And here weed is legal and I haven't quit 100%.
I'm like once a week.
Yeah, like my consumption is way down. I'm much happier and I'm not using anything illegal. I'm not looking for drugs. I'm not drinking. I'm not looking for pain pills. I'm not doing the things that I did in Ireland, in Florida, and in New York.
I dropped 2 dress sizes. I fit my jeans. I've gone through 2 swimsuits in 2 months.
Yeah. So I get it. So having
proof.
Thank you. Proof for what I'm saying. Well, this will help my detachment and align my detachment with their goals.
Yeah. And multiple angles too.
This is brilliant.
Not just looks and not just health and not just money and not just parenting, but whatever. All of the angles. Have as many angles as you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Make a strong case.
Yeah, because I would go further and talk about where I live. It's much cleaner here than it was in New York and Ireland and Florida.
Best landlord.
I have the greatest landlords ever. I have side jobs or when I need extra things.
Someone offered me a business the other day.
Yes, I've been offered a business. I mean, like I have all these amazing opportunities and I'm happier. Like there's proof of this happiness. There's proof of everything that I'm saying. Whereas in the other places I lived, there wasn't. And it's funny though, because I was attached to other things in those places where I wasn't happy and miserable. And once I let go and I actually acted like Elsa and let it go and I detached, then I was able to meet you and divorce my ex and move here. And this is one of my favorite cities in the world is New York City. And Toronto is a cleaner, smaller, lovelier version of New York. It's all the things I love about New York, but better. And you're here too. So thank you. And I just want to say, like, that was amazing. That was incredible. You really took my issue, my problem, and you broke it down for me to understand. And you made it really simple for me. And I want to know, like, you guys that are watching, what did you think? Did that make sense to you? Do you see how you can use that, your examples, for detachment in your own life? I would love to hear about it. And can you see why this man is amazing and wonderful? I say it all the time, but my God, it's just, if I ask someone else the same thing, they'd be like, oh, just be honest with your mom and tell her. I'm like, no, because I have to actually detach. I have to let go of this concern and this worry. And I actually have while we're sitting here. So one of the things, you guys can't see it because can't see my brain, but while you were talking, I felt this calm come over me. And like, I know what I have to do. And I feel so much better about it. Like, I was really worried about this conversation I'm going to have with my family. And you just made it so much easier for me to understand, first of all, what I have to do. And second of all, you inspired me with what to do going forward when I have this conversation. So thank you. And if any of you want more of this juicy, wonderful goodness, we have the world's first self-help coffee table book. It's called Eyes Wide Open Volume 1, and the link to purchase it is in the description. Or if you loved this wonderful, amazing help that he just gave me and you want to get some of that juicy goodness for yourself, I'm happy to talk to you about some coaching, or maybe you can talk to Jay one-on-one. I'm happy to set it up. Just shoot me an email, which is also in the description. So when I was in therapy, my therapist always talked about my detachment, but he meant it was like a symptom of my depression because I detached myself from my life and everything around me. But that's not the form of detachment we're talking about. So can you explain the difference between healthy and unhealthy detachment?
Yeah, and smart of you to pick up on that because, like I said, most people are confused about the word detachment. And I think that was probably the case for your therapist.
Yes.
I imagine the word he was reaching for or using detachment in place of was withdrawal. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want you to withdraw from life. He was always bringing up your issues withdrawing from life.
Yes.
Or withdrawing from work, or withdrawing from relationships, or withdrawing from whatever. Because withdrawing from life is close to depression and close to suicide. Mm-hmm. If you're withdrawing from life and no longer engaging with it, this usually comes from a place of massive disempowerment and feelings of powerlessness and disconnection. And so people will withdraw from a life that seems like it holds nothing for them. It's not true. Life holds plenty for them, but this is the feeling.
Yeah.
And so I would never call those people detached. They care very much about so many things and they desperately want it and they're obsessed with getting it. And when they can't, they just withdraw and go the opposite direction. This is not healthy detachment. This is a different thing. Okay. Right? People who withdraw from life are great targets for therapists. Like, therapists see that and they want to help or solve that. Mm-hmm. But detached people who understand detachment, like a Buddhist or a Stoic or, Ryan Holiday, probably aren't great targets for therapists. Right? They're very, very different. A healthy detachment empowers you and lets you move towards your goals. A kid who is detached from the outcome of walking is free to run around and play and struggle and fall and get up and laugh it off and eventually reach their goal or their destination or try again the next day. And eventually they master walking. Someone who withdraws from life and withdraws from the whole concept of walking ends up as a lethargic blob in the corner of some dark room just waiting to die. Like, they're not attempting to walk at all. Right. They have withdrawn from it versus the healthy detachment of walking outcomes, right?
Right.
You can see the difference, the massive difference. So language is a funny thing, and everyone uses their own terminology and has their own meanings in their head for the words that they use. And I assume he was using detachment to mean withdrawal.
Well, with your description, yes, this is what he meant. I was withdrawing from everything. And when it's been so long since I've been depressed like that, I get this weird feeling that comes over me and nothing matters and what's at all. So the first time I heard detachment from you, I Googled because I didn't understand why that was a good thing.
It should turn up Buddhism and Stoicism and stuff like that.
Actually, that's how I found Ryan Holiday, but I still didn't really quite get it until today. So I'm glad that we're talking about it. So, okay. So then that unhealthy detachment is actually withdrawal. Okay.
I would use different words to describe different things. And these are two very different things. And I wouldn't use detachment to describe them both. That's really confusing.
Yes.
I'm not going to use love to describe abusing someone and to describe divine bliss.
Right.
They're opposite things. Why would I use the same word to describe them? So I'm not going to use detachment to describe empowerment and moving towards goals in a healthy way, and to also describe all goals and I hate life.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. I'm glad that we defined what that was, and everything that you described withdrawal as is what he meant as detachment. So makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So I know that I've talked a lot about my family and detaching, but I don't want to detach from them completely. Like, I don't want to be separated and never speak to them. So is there a way that I can be myself and set my boundaries and still be attached to them?
Yeah, great question. That's the dream, right?
Yes.
Well, we were just talking about words a few moments ago. So let's look at some words together. Individual, freedom, connection, attachment, group, and bond.
Okay.
Individual, freedom, connection, attachment, group, bond. People use these words all the time, but just like the other words, I don't think they're thought through very often. So let's use them in an example. Let's say you have a child, and that child forms an attachment to you. Technically, that child is their own individual, but they're basically born or quickly trained into an attachment to you.
Yes.
Just like you were born or trained into an attachment with your mom.
Yes.
Right. Now, that child, as an individual, forms a connection with a friend.
Okay.
We'll call the friend Joe. So your child connects to Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not attached to Joe yet, but they have formed a connection.
Okay.
So can you see the difference between individuals, connections, attachments, which are more than a connection, or sort of an excessive connection?
Yes.
Right. And so as a parent, maybe you start off happy that your child has formed a connection with Joe. But more and more, that connection becomes an attachment, and your child becomes attached to Joe. And then Joe forms a connection with a group of bad influences. He forms a connection with a gang.
Okay.
So now your individual child is torn between two attachments. Mm-hmm. The long-term attachment to mom, or the new attachment to Joe, and by proxy, the gang.
Okay.
So now are you still so happy?
No.
Right. But you were happy for the connection or attachment as long as it was one that was you approved of.
Yes.
But as soon as it turns out that was one you don't approve of, even if your child's life path needs a gang phase to write his autobiography or become a giant celebrity, you're no longer happy about it.
Right.
And so you want to reestablish the connection with you, firm it up into a really strong attachment, mm-hmm. and you want to dissolve any attachment or connection with Joe and the gang.
Right.
So as you try to do this, as you try to mess with your child's attachments and connections, you meddle with them, mm-hmm. start getting involved, the kid speaks up and says, I'm an individual with freedom to connect with who I like.
Okay.
And now this hurts your attachment with your child even more because they don't want to be attached with a meddler. For a while, you were helping them and supporting them. You initially encouraged them to go make friends and meet Joe.
Yes.
Now you're meddling with all the connections and you're a meddler. And
yes.
now they don't want to be attached to you. And it pushes them into further attachment to the gang.
Okay.
But the thing is, pretty much every kid has only ever known attachment. They have zero conscious experience with detachment. They had detachment when they were learning to walk or drink water or whatever, but they've never had conscious detachment. Like, I choose to detach from this. They've only known attachment. They've been born into it and trained into it from a long line of attachers.
Right.
And so now they're becoming attached to Joe. None of this is a healthy bond or a healthy detachment.
Mm-hmm.
A healthy bond is not attachment. A healthy bond is when two conscious individuals choose to bond or collaborate or connect over something with no attachment involved. They're both detached people. They know these things are not crazy important. They're not obsessed. They just have a healthy relationship with one another. So as we walk through this story, this example, you can see that you were all about attachment. Joe is all about attachment. The gang is all about attachment. And your child is just bouncing from attachment to attachment, depending on which one feels best or seems to work the best and has the least meddlers or the least amount of pressure or drama.
Right.
If the peer group or the gang has less pressure and drama, well, then I choose that attachment. If mom has less pressure and these guys have more drama, I choose that attachment. None of this is conscious, healthy bonding. It is all just bouncing from attachment to attachment. It's all bullshit. No offense, but to the mom or the child or the gang,
right?
No offense. It is all bullshit attachment. There's very little conscious bonding or healthy connection in any of this.
Okay.
Happens all the time. You see it with families, churches, cults, governments, bureaucracies, fraternities, you name it. Mm-hmm. And so most people don't like to admit this, but a lot of those organizations are pretty toxic. They're just filled with pressure and drama and obligation and guilt and shame and trying to keep people involved and like clutch them back and bring them back to the fold. Like, it's like, this is not healthy relationships and you guys are not detached at all. And very rarely do you see anyone encouraging individual freedom. But the thing is, what they all want as they desperately cling to attachments is a healthy bond. What they're looking for is a healthy bond. And so this is why you get this weird dichotomy where you're torn. I want to detach from my family and get a little distance, but I also care about them and love them. And I don't want to detach from them and separate from them. Definitely not forever. Because like your therapist, you're using one word to describe two different things. You're using the word attachment to describe healthy bonding, and you're also using it to describe overimportance, clinginess, and failure to let go. But those are opposite things again.
Right. Okay.
And then people get confused and torn. And it's like, of course,
okay,
how can I be attached, but not attached, but attached, but not attached? They're two opposite things and I don't know what to choose.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you can have both. You can be detached and then create a healthy, mature bond, a conscious bond by choice, because those two things aren't opposite. They go hand in hand. You can have a healthy bond once you've learned conscious detachment. And so in our example, the child can have a healthy bond with the mom or with the gang or with Joe, but only once they've experienced detachment. If they're born into a society of conscious attachment nonstop and they've never consciously detached from anyone, they don't have the experience. They don't have the practice. They don't even know what it is. They couldn't even describe it to you. So they can't possibly choose a healthy emotional bond with someone because all they know is toxic attachment. That's all they know.
Okay.
So you need that first experience of detaching from someone.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully multiple experiences of detaching with someone until you become good at it. And then you can start choosing healthy bonds. Okay. I choose to work with this person. I choose to collaborate with that person. I choose to make friends with this person. I choose to be closer to my mom. I choose to be a bit distant from my mom. Whatever the case, I consciously choose it. I know when to detach and how much to detach and how much to connect and how much to bond. And I don't attach at all because we're all individuals and attachment is weird, unhealthy, over desire for outcomes.
Okay. I guess I feel I was using the word attachment in a different way, like you said. Like I was using it as a like connection instead, like a healthy connection. But I don't want to be attached to anything. I don't want to feel that over attachment, like an over need. So like in my family, I was taught family is everything. Like you do everything for them. But
anytime you say something is everything, it's over importance.
Of course it's over importance. And I gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave, and nobody gave anything back to me. I mean, my mom, but I'm talking about my family in general.
Yeah, your mom's pretty awesome.
Yeah, my mom is great. And I don't want to make it sound like, oh, she's a horrible person. Not at all. She's super loving and kind.
No, you just have
generous
goals right
but
now.
We have totally different goals.
But they're actually aligned.
Yeah. And I really would love
a healthy
bond and connection with her where I don't feel from either of us there's an over attachment, that there's an over like need, like desperate to tell me what to do. Like I feel coming from her, whether it's true or not, it's the feeling I get of over controlling feelings. I want to control what my daughter does and says and lives, and I want to control her. Whether she feels like that or not, I don't know. That's the vibe I get.
Sure, but you can have a healthy bond only when
I detach.
Yeah.
I have to detach.
Every child goes through this because they are born into constant attachment. So they must know both sides in order to choose which one.
Yeah.
And to create a healthy bond, you can't only know one. You have to know both attachment and detachment. And then you can choose a healthy bond.
Well, it's interesting you say that because my younger daughter detached from me when I first moved here.
Sure.
And she said her piece. She cut ties with me, and we went our separate ways.
Yeah, if you can let it go, it can repair and become a healthy bond after that detachment.
Right.
But no one wants to go through that period. They get all antsy and they can't let it go. And then they get obsessed about it. I need my child back. I need my child back.
Yeah. So we both let it go.
Good. Then it'll work out.
Yeah. We both went on our ways. She's an adult and we went on our ways. And I checked in with her through my mom. Is she okay? Well, her and I didn't speak. And then like a year and a half later, when she was ready, we started to form a connection again.
A conscious, healthy bond.
Yes. And now it's much healthier. We're much more honest with each other. We have a great relationship. And that's the kind of relationship I want with my own mother.
You can have it.
So, okay. This is really good. This is so helpful. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I'm glad that you explained again that like attachment and connection, these are two different things. And I was using this word in the wrong way. So thank you for explaining. And Rise Nation, how do you feel about this? Like the difference between attachment and connection? Do you see the difference? Is there a relationship or something? Doesn't have to be a person in your life where you can be detached, not attached and overly needing it? And is there an example where you have a connection, a healthy connection with somebody? Please let me know in the comments. Or again, if you want to make it private and you want to talk about it, my email is always open and it's in the description. So my last question, do you have anything that you want to share? Last thoughts, final thoughts with our wonderful and amazing audience?
Yes. Letting go is a superpower. And it's the mark of a healthy, mature, emotionally developed person. It's the mark of someone well on track to achieve their dreams. And the world needs more people like that. The thing is, you can only get good at letting go with practice. And practice takes guts. It takes courage. It takes bravery. So that's the question. Are you a piece or are you brave enough to step up, practice letting go, and master it? And even more, are you just going to listen to this podcast, nod your head, and say, oh, those are all great ideas that I fully agree with? Or are you going to implement them, apply yourself, practice today? Are you going to let go of something here and now? And maybe you have already. I'm looking forward to finding it. You got this. I appreciate you. That's it.
And if you need a reminder, just think of Elsa. Let it go. Let it go.
Can't hold it back anymore.
And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open.
Keep rising.